would you like me to record Matt
And I'll set
as
you up
well?
here to moderate, Della, and yeah, you can record if you'd like to, just so we have a
Just to
backup.
the cloud, and then in case something goes wrong, the backup.
Yeah, yeah, because that has happened before. Well, we learned from experience where once I think the recording had an error on my computer
Yeah.
and it didn't download and there was no way I could retrieve it. But since Della's been recording it to the cloud, then if something happens where it doesn't convert on my computer, we can always retrieve it back there. So that is awesome that Della does that.
Just a
So
backup. Good to have a backup. You never know technical issues. Oh,
you just never ever know.
no.
Yeah. Well, boy, I'm wearing a sweater today because it's a little chilly
Yeah,
in my studio. This is really strange.
I
it
actually
is.
just turned our furnace up.
Wow.
What about
It's,
It's
you,
rain.
Emily?
Yeah, it's raining here and it's chilly. Well, it's 57, but it feels colder inside for some reason. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think the kind of the smoke. I don't know if you guys are getting. I'm sure
Not yet.
you've gotten it in Canada, Della, but the
Yeah.
smoke came down here pretty thick yesterday, and the sun was. It was supposed to be a full sunny day, but it looked like it was cloudy, and it was just haze everywhere.
Yeah,
And
I was surprised at how bad you had it now.
yeah, just kind of shot down through Fargo, and then Twin Cities, and then over to us.
Oh,
And yeah, you could see it on the map. It was just kind of a thick area right by us, and
Could
yeah.
you smell it, Matt?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It
oh wow.
smelled like wood smoke. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Hey Judy.
Hi, Judy.
Hello. We got. That's not. I don't think it's that here. Julie? No. I'll have to get your name there. I know sometimes people use another person's
Exactly. I'm
your.
not Ed.
Yeah, I
Oh,
kind of
Oh,
figured that, but I anyway, what's your name?
I'm Daphne.
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 Daphne, yes.
Hello.
Yeah, okay. Good. Good to have you here, Daphne.
Oh, it's great to be here.
All right, wonderful. Yeah, so we have your painting in for critique today,
Oh,
so
good. Thank you.
you're very welcome.
I'm new to this painting stuff. It's very different. It's so against my personality.
But it's kind of exciting though, isn't it?
It is. It is. It really is.
Yeah, it's just neat to see so many people who started with the portrait challenge and have never done a portrait before,
Mhm.
or at least never an acrylic portrait before. And just to see what a fantastic job they do. So a lot of the artists that are in our realistic acrylic all access membership, started with a portrait challenge maybe 1, 2, 3 years ago, and then you just see, boy, they're doing fantastic, beautiful art today, and
Mhm.
just contributing so much to other artists in terms of their encouragement and expertise, and also beautifying the world around them where they live and encouraging people with their gift. It's just really a neat thing to see. I love it.
Well, your teaching is so easy, and I appreciate it a lot.
I
Hmm.
agree. Very easy to follow.
And having this is really good. Thanks. From the drawing, from the gridding, which I've never done, to drawing, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you, Daphne. And it's a lot of fun. I just try to think of, well, what if people wanted to know, like, how to do this? How would I feel if I wanted to learn something new? Because I know what it's like. I shared this on my own personal Facebook page, but I have ADHD. I've been like diagnosed with that, and so it's difficult for me to learn new things. And I remember when I was in a hardware store 20 years ago, learning how to cut a key. Before they had these machines, you just pop it in, and you actually had to like cut around it, and there was a process to it. And I remember the manager of the store teaching me how, and he showed me once how to do it, and he thought that's all I needed. I'm just going to show you this one time. Now go do it. And I'm like, trying to tell him, can you show me again? And he was a little frustrated that he had to show me again. And then I'm like, watch me do it and tell me if I'm doing it okay. And he seemed like just a little put off by having to spend that extra time to show me how to do it. But I'm like, if you'll show me how to do it, once I learn it, I'm going to do it well for you. And, you won't have to train me again, and I just try to ask him to give me a little more time, a little more patience and hand holding, so to speak. So, I think that same thing applies in art. It's like, how would people feel if they really want to know how to do something? They have questions. It's a new skill to learn, right? And so, so I hope that all makes sense, just to really, that's why we do these critiques, right? Because you're following the process, but still you're going to have questions like, am I doing it right? Am I following the reference photo? What needs to be adjusted? This is exactly why we have these critiques here. This is so beneficial. And then what's beautiful is that the other artists, like we have Della here, we've got Donna and Emily from our All Access membership. We have Lalia here somewhere. There she is. And, we're all encouraging each other. And, when we meet for the All Access membership critiques on Tuesday, boy, oh boy, there is so much expertise being shared. It's just phenomenal. And artists are seeing things I wouldn't necessarily see. That's kind of the power of having a mastermind together. All right. Well, I don't want to just go on and on and on. I wanted to say thank you so much for being here. And you guys are all important. All of you who have contributed your artwork are important and valued. And those who haven't contributed their artwork but are here encouraging those who have, thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here. Really, really appreciate it.
Sorry, Matt, can you add me as co-host?
Yes. And so for those of you who haven't been introduced to Della and Donna, they're our admins for our Facebook group, and they help also with these critiques.
Okay.
So they're here to make things a little smoother. So Donna, Della, thanks for being here. Do you have anything to share?
I'll just share a little bit about the process because I think there's a couple of faces that haven't been here before. So when Matt is critiquing, we ask everybody to mute themselves just so that we don't have a lot of background noise. And then if you have something you want to contribute or a question you want to ask, or just see something about the painting that you think, oh, I like the way you did X, Y, Z, we ask that you would use the raise hand feature that you'll find on your screen under reactions. If for any reason that doesn't work for you today, just physically wave at us. We'll see you and we'll make sure that your comment is heard. Something I think is really important for you to understand is that whether you have been painting for 5 minutes or 5 years or 25 years, if you see something, I strongly encourage you to raise your hand and share what you see. It is really, really good for us to hear from each other's perspectives. And even if you think, oh, I just started drawing yesterday, what am I going to see? You may see something from the eyes of someone brand new that someone who's been doing it forever overlooks because it's just second nature. And you also, in doing that, really develop your own eye and skill. And it's encouraging, really, really encouraging for no matter what length of time you've been doing it, to get that fresh look from people and that comment. So I encourage you to say something, even if it's a compliment. We all like affirmation and need that in order to be encouraged to continue. So that matters too. We use left and right when we're talking as we see it. So if someone says the left eye could be a little bit higher, it's the way we're looking at it. It's not the subject's left eye, it's the left as we see it. And Matt will be doing some annotating. And I'm just wanting you to know that if he's not drawing the line exactly where you're telling him to draw it, it may be because of lag, because there is a little bit of a lag between what we mention and what Matt's computer keeps up to us. So there's a little bit of that. Otherwise, just enjoy. Thank you for being here. I hope that you get as much benefit from it as what I've seen myself, my own personal growth from these critique sessions. And yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that. And I really appreciate your moderation here along with Della. Before I forget, just would like to ask a blessing on this meeting here, and just take a moment and give God thanks for you guys, and pray that this meeting would be a blessing to you. So, Father, I come before you in Jesus' name, and I just ask you would bless this meeting, and thank you for the artists that are here. I pray you'd help them and encourage them in the process of painting this portrait. Keep them all in good health, and if they have any aches or pains or anything that might inhibit them from painting, I pray you'd heal that in Jesus' name, or just even in day-to-day life, Lord. And I pray that you would help us to encourage each other and give us clarity in our comments, and I pray they would be well received. We'll be able to incorporate them into our work, and just bless this meeting, help the technology to hold out too. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So again, thank you guys for being here. It's just a joy to be able to critique the work on the screen. And it's amazing when you get your painting up on the screen next to the reference photo. There's something about having it very, very close together and seeing it at the same size that allows you to all of a sudden realize, oh, okay, this is off here and this is off there. And we're going to talk about things that need adjustment, but we're also going to talk about things we like in the work as well. You want to have a good mix between those kind of two different things. And another thing too that I want to mention is we have 3 critiques today, so we have a little bit more time than we have in the past. So I want to give you guys an opportunity here for whomever would like to hold the mic, so to speak. We'll kind of pass the mic around. And if you want to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your experience as an artist and with the challenge, we'd love to hear from you. So you can go ahead and raise your hand. We'll try that hand raising feature, and we'd love to hear from you. So give you guys a moment to do that. I'm just going to get a sip of water because I think with the smoke in the air from the Canadian fires, and I had my windows open last night while I was sleeping, and my throat is just a little sore today. All right, so we can go ahead, Don or Adela, and get the first one.
Sure. Okay, Kimberlyn, go ahead and tell us about yourself.
I want to say thank you for first thing. Second, I've been painting and airbrushing, doing ceramics and stuff for quite a few years, started doing pet portraits. And this challenge here is, the technique is so different than what I've ever done. And I do find it challenging, but I find myself, your brain wants to go back to what you know before. And I'm not doing that. I'm finally saying, no, you can't just go that way. You got to stop. You got to do. So I'm kind of doing that, and to walk away from a painting, it's like, I'm never finished with a painting ever. I mean, it's like, I have to finally say, okay, done, and then if I hang it up in the other room, I put it on my easel again. So it's like, but that's been kind of a challenge for me to not just say, oh, well, I think I just need to do this, so, but I'm going to continue that way. And again, I thank you so very much.
That's awesome. Thank you, Kimberlyn, for that introduction. And, it's great to hear that you're kind of retraining your brain. And that's what a big part of painting, especially portraits, is all about. So kudos to you for that. Well done. All right. Anyone else?
No one now, but maybe partway through somebody will feel like, or at the end, if somebody feels like sharing, we can have time in.
Of course.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, let's dive in here to the critiques. We will go ahead and pull up my screen. And let's begin with Lilia. Go ahead, tell us about your painting and how we can help.
Okay, as you can see, I make a mistake during the background. You can see it look like horrible and terrible, but I know it can be rescued, and I'm going to learn from you, the members, and Matt, how to do the rescue. Because it's the background, I don't worry too much about it. Actually, the whole painting was as dark as in the background, the yellow, the brown color, and I scooped, like pushed with my brush from the face to the edge. That's why the face look brighter, like not that dark. And at the side of it, surrounding their frame, it is so dark in color. But since it's a background, I don't worry too much about it. But I will have to learn the technique, like what to do with it. And like the background, you can like some area is so dark, that type of thing. So this is the part that I have to learn. Another thing is that I spend a lot of time in sketching, so I capture a lot of likeness. But when I do the painting, like toning and also the glazing, I have some minor area that I have covered too much, like that. On the left-hand side of the knuckles, I have more clothing color onto the hand, and it's a little bit, but I'm very picky for myself, and I like to make adjustment. But I have to paint over the darker color to make this, to get the skin tone to show up more, and that is the part that I have to learn. And also I can learn from from the other critique of other photos. And last but not the least, I like to thank you, Donna, who teach me how to do the chat, like writing. I don't even know about that until she told me, hey, you can do this like that. Then I learned it. So it is a lot of things that you can learn from the live critique. Yeah. I thank you all the members, and thanks to Matt for his time. And he's very busy, so he's so generous that he can spend the time on this. And that's all I want to say. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Lilia. Really appreciate that, and appreciate all of your feedback for Donna as well. And yeah, so many of the artists in our critique contribute to each other and share things that they've learned along the way in painting portraits and critiquing them. Well, hey, you've done a good job in this. Even though there's some aspects of it that maybe you would have liked to have turned out differently, it's all a learning experience. And so the background, for example, has a different look to it than some of the other portraits. But every portrait in this portrait challenge, even though we're all painting the same reference photo, isn't it really cool how we all do it a little bit differently? And we bring out some different aspects of the reference photo, and our personalities and our style already begins to shine through. So, the question is, when you look at like the background here, it has a little more of a painterly look to it. Okay, there's some areas maybe that aren't blended out quite as smoothly as what we see in the reference photo. The question is, do you, like what you're seeing? Okay. Do you want it to be different? And I'll just ask you that, Lilia. Would you like the background to look different?
Not necessarily, but since I have made a mistake of making it so dark in color, I would like go by that and like smooth it out, the gradation, to make it not like a spot or area which is outstanding. That's no good. But I think there must be some way to smooth it out, like the gradation, things like that. And not necessarily exactly follow the photo, reference photo. But artists are always creative, right? But I did not purposely do that. It's my mistake. It's done through my mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and sometimes things do just happen. You wouldn't necessarily have to call it a mistake. It might have been you know, an unforeseen occurrence or consequence of what you did. You know, some things just happen as you're painting. You didn't intend them to happen, and then it can be a surprise, and maybe a pleasant surprise or an unpleasant surprise. That depends on your point of view and what you're aiming for. But you said you would like to smooth things out. So I see like this area here, for example, maybe that's something you'd like to smooth out. This area here is kind of interesting, and you know, you've got kind of a nice blend of color, and you know, maybe here you want to blend that out because it's kind of a harsh edge, and it draws our attention to that corner a little bit too much.
Right.
And so for that, you know, you could use a mix of like raw sienna, Indian yellow, titanium white, and then add some burnt sienna and alizarin crimson. And what you would do is you would just kind of have two different tones, one that would be closer to this tone and one that would be closer to that. And you would mix them on your palette. Of course, you do have to have that titanium white mixed into the colors to make it opaque enough to smooth things out. And then you would do like a 50% mix, 50% paint, 50% matte medium, and kind of overlap it a little bit. Get something that's a little lighter than this area here and a little darker than that area there. And you would just kind of paint over like this and smooth it out.
Mhm. Okay.
That would be the way to smooth that area out. So just want to address that. But I would like to get some feedback from others in this group. So let's get your thoughts for.
Okay. We will go to Emily in 1 second, but I just have to say, Lilia, I absolutely love your background in the top right-hand quadrant. Absolutely love it. And it may have been an accident or you called it a mistake. Well, it says, Bob Ross would say, happy little mistakes or whatever he used to say. That is beautiful. And when you get the color in her hair, it is going to really bring her hair out. And that is such a feature of her Irishness. And I think that I think it's gorgeous. So if you smooth out that other side, I love it, love it, love it.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, Emily, go ahead.
Well, I agree with Donna. That right side is beautiful. And I love the style that you've created here. It's just, she's gorgeous and the lightness is there. Two little things that I noticed though, it's the outline of the face, starting at the forehead, the very forehead with the hairline. It seems like in the photograph, it's more oval, on her forehead as well. Yeah. And it seems to be a bit flat right there. So I wonder if you brought that, you know, the way he's annotating, if that would look a little bit better. And also the right side of her face, the outline from her chin to her jaw, it curves in just a little bit more, I think. I'm not really sure though. And yeah, and then the side of the face, it seems to go a bit straighter and it curves in just a little bit too much, I think. Yeah. If that's the correct. Do you see that, Matt?
Yeah.
I could use a little bit of help there.
Right here?
Yeah.
Side contour?
Yep.
Yeah.
But I just think it's beautiful and I love this. When I saw it on Facebook, I just thought that was wonderful.
Oh,
You know, you've
thank you.
done beautiful style.
Thank you very much, Emily.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Emily. Appreciate that. Della?
Yep, we'll go to Della and then Daphne.
I totally love this. I think this is just fabulous, Lilia. I love the background. I think it just makes her stand out. And once you get more layers on her dress and on the palette, the background will make more sense. Right now, the dress has those colors in it too. But once you get there and get the layers on, I think then it will just, she will pop and the background will recede.
Okay, so we are going to learn the more layers in lesson 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. And Matt, do I do the background at this point in time or should be at a later stage?
Oh, you mean to like smooth that area out
Yeah.
up there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's up to you. You could
Oh, okay.
you can do it later on if you want. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever seems more interesting to you. Sometimes you have to work on things that are more compelling to you. If you feel like, oh, I've got to resolve this, you know, it doesn't sit with me well right now, then you would want to work on it now. But if you're just okay with that, you know, and you want to begin to darken some of these other areas or add some color to her hair or whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
you can work on something else.
Okay, for the layers, I will follow the instruction from the future lessons like 6 and 7. Is 7 the last lesson or there will be a number 8 lesson?
Number 8. 8 will be the last
Okay.
one. Yep.
So and for the background, I think I will do it at the later stage, like when more layers is on the on Diane portrait. Then see how it goes. The portrait will stand out, and then I will look at the background to how I should like what kind of medium, what colors should be put on it. Thank you very much of all of you.
Great. It sounds like a great plan, Lilia. Did we have somebody else that wanted to share?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Daphne.
I think it's beautiful. One thing would be just lowering that left shoulder a bit with shading or your glazing or whatever Matt does to fix things. And maybe just raise that mouth a little bit, just flatter across the mouth, across the teeth, just a little straighter. It's beautiful, Lilia. And I, like you, I go ahead of Matt's lessons. So, and I have too dark underneath. And I jump ahead. So if we go step by step, that's very beautiful. I like the colors. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, Daphne. Appreciate both of those comments. Very helpful. Okay. Anybody else?
That's it for this one, it looks like.
Okay, I just want to finish up with one last comment then, based on what Lilia was asking for. You talked about her hand on the right being covered up, I think, by some of the clothing color. And just want to let you know that's not an issue, because eventually you'll be using more opaque layers or semi-opaque layers as we get towards the end, and you'll be painting over the fingers more opaquely, and any areas where you like went out of the line, so to speak, you'll be able to cover that right up. I always recommend for artists to not be afraid of going over areas. It's better to overlap than to underlap, because if you underlap and then you like are afraid of getting close to the edge and you have a big white area here, that's a lot harder to blend it in to the rest, because then you have to blend it into all these glazed layers. Whereas with this, it's just a smaller area, and you can use your detail brush just to add the opaque layers to overcome any of those parts. So hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you very much, Matt.
Okay, great. Well, let's wrap it up here with this critique. So Lilia, I hope this all helps. Okay, I see that. I can see your body language saying yes, it does. All right, awesome. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback for Lilia. And let's go on next to Daphne. Daphne, go ahead and tell us about your painting and how we can help. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out here on the reference photo. Get them same size. Get this pulled up. Get these windows here. You'll just need to unmute yourself.
There we go.
There you are.
This is after lesson 4. And I did a quite few unorthodox things, like putting too much glaze and having to wipe it off, too much paint in the glaze and had to wipe it off with water completely once. And so I have a real yellow cast that's yellower than what we see on here, across everything but the skin.
Mm-hmm.
I need to lighten the eyes somehow. I went in with whatever black fine pencil or crayon or something I had. You know, I get impulsive and I move colors way ahead of what I thought instructions would tell me to. And I see that the torso is too wide. And all feedback, any feedback and corrections appreciated.
All right, wonderful, Daphne. Well, thank you for sharing this. And I really like the contrast that you have here in this painting. So I just want to comment on that. So the way it looks right now almost reminds me of the grisaille paintings of the Renaissance, you know, the grisaille technique where they would do I think they call it tenebristic, white kind of glaze over certain areas. No, I did a painting like that towards the end of last year, which was an approach I don't often use. But that just reminds me of, you have kind of a lighter area in her face. And I think once you get the color in her face, which we haven't quite touched on, especially if you're only at lesson 4, but we will cover in 5, and that's already recorded. 6 is coming out soon.
Mhm.
Once you get that color in her face, it's going to really come alive because you've got a good sense of the value structure there, and I appreciate that. And when you can see, the differences in the tonal values and see these kind of shapes taking place, that's huge. That's something to celebrate, and that's a skill that you are building up right now. And you'll be able to use that in your future paintings, and it's already taking place in this one here. So this is good. Now, as far as the face goes, I would encourage you, as we get into some later stages, to consider maybe lightening up this shadow right here under her chin, because I think what's happening in this particular photograph is there's like 2 light sources almost, and we can kind of see that with the shadow of the paintbrushes on the palette. It looks like here, right here, it looks like there's a shadow here, and then there's another shadow up there, and they're kind of crossing over. And so that makes it a little bit more challenging when you're, painting that, especially on the face. And I think here we've got an inner shadow and an outer shadow. So if you can see that difference there, how it's a little lighter right there, that's going to help. And once you get more color on here, I'll encourage you to go back and maybe lighten that up a little bit. And, you might have questions on how to do that. We can address that at that point. And that's going to help a lot. And the other thing will be, getting in some of these negative spaces, like for her eye, which at this point, the eyes have gotten a little bit dark, but you can easily go back. Well, I'm not going to say it's going to be like a piece of cake. It'll be a little bit of a challenge, but you'll be able to go back and put in, the negative space that I outlined right here, showing the sclera of the eye. And when you do that, then you'll be able to kind of, get that eye back in a proper tonal value balance, where you're going to see the iris and the pupil standing out like it should. And if you observe this right now and just make a mental note that the sclera is lighter on the left-hand side than it is on the right, can you see that difference?
Yes. Yeah.
Just kind of make a note of that. So then when you paint it, you choose, instead of like using a titanium white straight color, you mix it with like a raw umber dark to make it a warm gray. And then you'd add that in there, make that a little bit darker than this here. Anyway,
Matt, would you put, now, do you mix the paint with, you mix white with a lot of glaze? Do you glaze it in there, or do you use a different color than white?
for which parts?
The eye, the lateral, the outside of the eye there.
Yeah. So
how do you
it's-
make that color to go in there?
Yeah, so when you get some, first of all, get some more colors on her face.
Oh, okay.
And you begin to glaze that a little bit, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to glaze like her, this is one, not the color I wanted. You're going to glaze her entire face a little bit with a kind of a light layer going over, establishing the mid-tone, but
Mid-tone.
you'll exclude a couple of highlights like on her forehead and cheek, and I'll show you that. in a left.
Okay.
But it's going to end up kind of going over everything. So you'll want to wait till later. And then when you get to that later stage, maybe between lesson 7 to 8 or something like that.
I have to wait. I have to wait.
Well, you don't have to wait, but
I know, but yeah,
it'll
that's
be
hard for me,
beneficial
but
if you do.
yeah.
But if you really want to tackle it now, you could too. You'll just have to go back and you'll have to kind of restore the
Fix
white
it again. Yeah.
So the color would be titanium white mixed with a little raw umber dark or raw sienna. I would say probably raw sienna, because you're having to go over that area that's already kind of dark.
Umber.
Huh.
So titanium white, maybe a little bit of raw sienna, raw umber dark. A ratio of like 90% titanium white to like 10% raw umber dark. And then you would mix
Oh.
a little bit of matte medium just to make it fluid. I would say at a ratio of about 80% paint to 20% matte medium. So now it's got to be a
Oh.
lot more opaque, because you have to cover up this dark value, right? So yeah, so it's just something to keep in mind. Even though we do the glazing technique, it doesn't mean that you never paint opaquely again. We just use glazes for what they're good for, and they're good for creating smooth shading. They're good for toning the whole area and not obscuring the detail of your sketch. But there's times where we have to get into more opaque techniques, and I'll show you that more as we get towards the end.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you bet. All right, so I kind of shared a lot
Mhm.
for you here. I don't know if we have any
Thank you.
folks that would like to contribute and give your thoughts for Daphne. If you do, we'd love to hear from you. So just raise your hand if you have something you'd like to share for Daphne. Otherwise, I'll just keep on sharing a little bit more, and then if we see some hands up, I'll give you an opportunity. All right, I see Della. Go ahead, Della.
Yep.
Okay.
Daphne, I just love how you've done her hair. You've really captured that so well. I see the curls, and I see she's got a little bit more on top than what maybe the reference photo has. But gosh, it really, really looks nice.
Thank you, Della, for sharing that. Yeah, then you did do a good job, just like Della said, because you have some nice gradients here on the outside edge. So we want to celebrate that and just observe that and say do more of that. Anyone else?
Yeah, go ahead, Emily.
All right.
You can't unmute?
Oh, Emily, you're muted.
Oh,
There
there
she
you go.
is.
All right. Just looking at the chin and the jawline, is there any way you can go around her face a bit, Matt? Just annotate it.
Yes.
It looks like some things are a little bit off.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's rounder.
Yeah, and it goes down at an oval with the chin,
Yep.
and then also up to the cheekbones. Especially the left side is a bit sketchy, but it's kind of hard to tell. I think, yeah, yeah. But that might help. And I love the likeness that you have and the hair too. And I can see the eyes that you, even though they're dark, it's really looking good. I guess I don't have much else to say. That's all that I could really see. But beautiful work so far. I love the start.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Emily. Appreciate that. Yeah, overall, the placement of the features, Daphne, are very nicely done. You know, you have a good sense of the proportion of the face. I would say, just to add on to Emily's comments, right on target, The nostril could be tipped down a little bit more. So if you can see that right there where it's a little narrower, and then you've got kind of that shadow right there, and then it's more of a straight line. And then the outside edge of the wing of the nose could be rounded off just a bit. You did nice at getting that little kind of narrow point of her nose right here. We don't really see much definition of her nose on the left side because of the lighting, but this is what it would be like if we could see it. And you did a good job with this shadow here portraying that narrower area. The mouth, you want to dial that in a little bit, but that can all be done with some titanium white and a bit of raw umber dark as we get into that part of the lesson. The nasolabial fold can be made a little thinner, cheekbone kind of can be brought out a little bit more on this side here, like that. And that little dimple, you want to work that in. But these are all things that as you go along in the process will come out more and more. Now, just before we move on here, I want to address, the figure, because you had asked about that. And what I'm seeing here is, in the reference photo, her arm kind of tapers in more. It kind of has a curve like this.
Back.
And so I think you have the elbow kind of projecting out a little too much. And the elbow is actually down a little bit lower. It's kind of the crease here, but it's kind of behind a bit. So if you just use some of the background color and kind of taper off a little bit right here, that would involve mixing titanium white and a bit of raw umber dark and maybe a little raw sienna. And what you want to do is just match the color and apply it at about an 80% opacity. So 80% paint, 20% matte medium, just to make it fluid. And it might take a couple layers to cover. And then when you get to the edge of your layer, you can just kind of brush it out by lifting up on the edge of your brush, or you can do it with your finger, and that'll kind of blend it into what you have.
Boy, that makes a big difference already.
Good. Glad that helps. The other thing I'm seeing too, Daphne, is if you can open up this part a little more, that's going to help too. So for this, you could add some titanium white again with a bit of raw sienna just to warm it up, and just give her a little bigger opening on her blouse. Yeah, so just just kind of fill that in right there. And that's going to help too. And then lastly, I would say her palette, you can just kind of crop in a little bit with this darker shadow here and get it a little more round right there. And I think that's going to help. It's hard to see. I think we're zoomed out all the way on this. Yeah, hard to see what's happening right here, but maybe you can cut in a little bit right there with the background color just to bring her figure in a little bit narrower on the bottom. And so I think if you do those things, that'll really help you a lot.
I see that her left hand, our right, is lower than it should be, but it's kind of hard to change now. The shadings will make her more 3D.
Yes.
Boy, that hand is way out of.
Yeah, it's a little bit too low, but it's not something.
Boy, it helps to look at it really close like that.
Yeah,
I'll have to get it on my iPad and look at it that way.
Yeah, you can actually self-critique your work, and it's a beneficial thing if you just do the same kind of thing, put it up on the screen like we are here, and then just kind of ask yourself some questions, and you'll see it a lot clearer when you have it on a screen. I do that for my own work from time to time. If I'm unsure of something, I'll put it up on the screen and just kind of self-critique it. But yeah, so the finger here could be a little bit thicker on the top. All right, so I think that'll help too if you can just add a little bit more of this finger that's curving around the palette back there. And we don't see obviously the pinky finger that's behind.
Yeah.
We all,
Should
we
I
all
keep
know.
it where it is and just make it further back with shadows or something?
Yeah, I would keep it where it's at. The only thing I question is the, I just want to make sure I have my thumbnail images of everybody down. I want to make sure that nobody's trying to raise your hand and I'm missing it. The thing I would caution you on or just raise is something to look at would be her elbow looks a little long because since you do have this hand lower,
Right.
and then the elbow is based on the relationship of that hand being higher. Now this distance from her shoulder to her elbow is
It's
way
lower.
so you're going to need to crop this in and bring it up higher or just bring the hand up.
Yeah,
Even if
I'll
you
probably crap. Yeah.
actually, you still would have to adjust that in any
Yeah.
case. So
Thanks so much. Yeah. I
yeah,
knew it
well,
looked wrong.
good. Well, I hope this gives you some more clarity then.
Oh, so much. Thank you very much, guys.
Donna, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was going to say, and maybe it's just my eye, but if you're going to move that hand anyway, I actually think you have her palette too wide. And then the rest of her torso ends up being too wide. I would shift that in a bit, move her hand up and into our left a little bit, bring her arm in a little bit, then the line outlining her chest in a little bit.
Mhm.
And I think her proportion would be better. I think she's looking wider than she actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Just a small little.
Yeah. And she is at a little bit of an angle there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
too.
think you'll be happier in the end if you actually make it. And right now that adjustment isn't going to be nearly as difficult as it would be if
As
you
later.
did a few more stages and then tried to redo it. So it's up to you. It's not obviously something you have to do, but something to consider.
Yeah, well, I'll be making future mistakes, I'm sure. So learning how to fix that now.
Exactly. I agree.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll try
I
the
agree.
titanium and rumber and all that.
The other thing I'm noticing, and it may just be the way it's photographed, but I'm wondering about the smoothness of your canvas, Daphne.
I'm
Because
sorry?
the smoothness of your canvas, it
Oh,
looks really bumpy and rough. Is that?
It is. And
Okay.
especially after I had to water it all down and wipe up off
Okay.
all this paint.
Because
I was saying,
will,
oh my goodness, I'm so glad, it was either with the toning or putting on the raw umber for the background. It was just getting out of control. So I
yeah,
wiped it all down. So it's kind of like waterlogged canvas.
you'll find some areas, especially in the face, a little bit more challenging to get accurate detail when it's rough. But the roughness is more around the outside, I think. So, but yeah.
It also
It'll be
looks
fine.
too,
It's just-
I was going to
Another
add,
good
Donna.
lesson.
Sorry, Donna, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, but it's nice when those things happen when you're taking a lesson. Because then you do learn how to work around them, and it's good learning, as frustrating as it might be, right?
It's frustrating. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. I was going to add too that maybe the lighting can make the canvas look a lot rougher. It looks like your lighting is right from above, but if you're,
Yeah, I just have a sun a roof window, whatever you call those, in my little bathroom studio.
Sunlight.
yeah, okay, yeah. So
Highlight.
skylight.
Yeah, skylight. Thank you.
Yeah. That's the way to paint with daylight. You bet. All right. Do we have time to get another comment in here?
Oh, I hope. Oh no. Okay.
I think, Lilia, I might ask you to put yours in the chat because we still have to get moving to the next critique here. Is that okay? Good. Thank you.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lilia. All right. Well, Daphne, thank you for sharing this, and it sounds like it's giving you some clarity. So keep up the good work. And again, I love the contrast on this portrait and the shading you've got going on. So keep it up, and look forward to seeing more.
Thank you much.
All right, great. All right, let's bring it home here with Kimberlyn. Kimberlyn, go ahead and tell us about your painting and how we can help.
Okay, I think I've lost her neck on the right-hand side. I say the right-hand side. And I think I've got my palette out of shape. And I still have to do something where I did use the orange and kind of the brown pencils, and so I'm gonna do a little more work with the eyes on that thing, but I don't know if I'm jumping the gun or what. And then my shadow on the right arm, I think, is a little high.
Okay. All right. Well, Kimberlyn, great to see this, and I think we saw this in a previous critique. I believe we did last week. And so you have a lot more work done on it. You have the color in there, and this one really has a nice sense of life and vibrance to it. So I really appreciate the excited expression, the enthusiastic expression that you captured here for Diane, and beautiful smile, and her eyes just look really alive. So I really like that. And you have a nice vibrant color going here on her clothing. And, I think as you have some future layers, this rich color you have going on will help add to that richness. But you had mentioned her shoulder, or her neck, wasn't it? Her neck that you kind of lost a little of the
Right.
form of that. So let me zoom in here and kind of see how we can help you with that. All right. So here we have this shape, and that's an important shape in the reference photo. It's a negative space, it's the shape of the background behind her hair. And so I see where you have that going on right there. But, if you add some more shading right here, which we do get to in some of the future lessons, that's going to help to really define that upper trapezius muscle of her neck and shoulder. And that's going to help right there, just getting this a little bit darker. Eventually, you'll come back and you'll kind of actually semi-opaquely put in some background glazes, and you can adjust any areas that are off. So you might, whatever the background color is, it might be like a titanium white, raw sienna. And on a very small area, you don't have to match the colors as precisely. They just have to be close. But you might fill this in and really define that as well. So you're defining it with the dark value, you're defining it with the lighter value, and that's going to really establish that form. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do I have her cheek too fat over here?
Pardon me?
Is her cheek on the right? I mean, it looks like almost like she has something down in her cheek. She looks a little chubbier here than she does in the photo.
Yeah. This line here that you have is a little bit too far down. It's a little boxy. It's a tricky area because there's a lost edge there. We really can't see the actual edge of her jawline. What we're seeing is, here we've got the chin projecting out, and then somewhere along here we've got what we call surface shading or gradation. And then here we've got kind of some surface shading where it's turning the form on this contour. This is a cast shadow because this is an object actually obstructing the light. So it has a really harsh defined edge. But right here, we really can't see that edge. I mean, if you look for it, you can kind of get a sense of where it probably is based on the other side. And I would say maybe like something like that, But I would, instead of trying to really capture that with a hard line, what you want to do is just really paint what you see. And this whole section, just kind of treat this as a shape. And I've used the metaphor in previous challenges, and I've touched on it a little in this challenge, of calling it like nations and states. Like you have like these specific forms. If you look at a topographical map of the United States, you'd see the shape of the United States that everybody recognizes. Then within that, you have these other, you know, I'll just draw it here on the screen so you can see it. This is my little map of the US. All right. So then I have Wisconsin right here, and it's that shape of the glove, right? And so you have this larger shape, a smaller shape in there. Maybe you have California right there and Florida there. But see, within this, you have this large shape, and then you have these smaller shapes, and there's a little distinction in value right there, for example, if you see that. See that slight difference?
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm not losing you here. I'm throwing a ton at you, I know, but if you can get this concept down, it makes a huge difference, because then you'll be seeing it anytime you do a painting. When you look at the reference photo, you'll be like, oh yeah, I see that little nation, or I see that little state or province there, you know. So just instead of trying to paint a jawline, just see this whole shape here and paint that. All right, so if that's clicking, let me know.
Okay, yeah.
If it's not clicking, let me know that too, and I'll clarify.
Okay, we have a couple of hands up. Let's go first to Della.
All right, great.
I just love this. You have captured her so well. And I can see that once you carry on, it's going to be just a fabulous painting. The only thing that I've noticed is when you look at her mouth, if you draw a line straight across, you can see that the left side of her mouth is slightly higher than the right side. And you have it lower. So the left corner, or the corner on the left side, needs to come up a bit.
Oh, okay, okay.
And that will make a big difference in her expression. But you've got her nose is really good, and like you really captured her very well. It's just her mouth needs a little bit of adjustment.
Okay. That'll give her even more of a smile too, it looks like.
Exactly, yeah. But gee, you're doing really well.
Thank you, Della. Della is our mouth expert in our all access meetings. She just really knows how to help people make the mouths better. All right, who's next?
Next up is Emily.
Okay, this is just so beautiful. I love the way that she has that excitement, that happy, joyful look on her face. And you captured it. The one thing that I noticed that's a bit off to my eyes, and it's the left eye. It looks like it's a bit lower than the other one. It might be a touch lower, but I wonder if it's too low compared to the other. I wonder if you were able to raise that a little bit. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I'm just drawing a couple of lines here, straight line across. As far as my mouse can do it. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is a little low, because see the difference here? This line I know is straight across on the reference photo, and you can see that difference. Here's that top part of the eyelid here, and there, it's just a slight bit lower.
And I
But do
think you're,
left eye and move it up, or take the right eye and move it down?
in my opinion,
Go ahead, Emily.
in my opinion, I think you need to raise it, that left eye, a bit more, because the distance between the eyes and the nose, especially you can see, because if you brought it the right one down, I think
Yeah.
that her nose will appear too short.
You're right. I'm looking at the measurement, the kind of the measurement between there and the nasal, and it's, yeah, you're right. It's
Yeah.
good.
But I think if you correct that, it might look better. And then also that above her left eye, the eyebrow, the angle is at a different dip. It kind of goes down, yeah, like that, and then curves down a little bit.
Okay.
And I think you would get her lightness more that way. And one other thing that I noticed is the outline of her jaw to her chin. It looks like you need to come down a little bit more. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, the chin looks like it should be just a little bit longer, a little more
Yeah.
prominent. Yeah.
But I think you've done beautiful, and I just love the vibrancy of your portrait. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Because that's, yeah, I mean, there was something that just was not right. And I was thinking it was the other eye, but you're right. It's its eye actually looks the best, but it still needs moved. So
I know. If you just duplicate it, move it up just a little bit.
yeah, I think computer generate it and move it. That'd be good.
Gorgeous, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Kimberlyn? Oh, Della, you just raised your hand. Go ahead.
I have one more quick comment, and that's about her palette.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at the shape at the bottom, I think it comes down
Yep.
a bit too much.
Yeah, I lost it. I lost it a little bit.
Yeah, if you could just kind of
Oh.
drop that off at the bottom a bit, that would really help as well.
I was looking at it, thought, oh man, it looks more like an egg than it does a palette. So
Yeah, thank you for that, Della. That's good. All right, so Kimberlyn, I hope all this helps.
it does, and thank you very much. And also, I think I feel bad for some of you guys, the guys that are on the talk that have to delete things that people put in there that are necessarily inappropriate. But I do appreciate all your moderation on those. I mean, I think I don't see probably half the stuff you guys see. So,
Are you talking about the chat?
yeah, on the chat, yeah.
Yeah. That chat's kind of like a little Wild West thing going on here. But
Yeah,
Donna's in there kind of keeping things real, so we appreciate that.
yeah, no, I do appreciate that. I mean, I'm constantly deleting stuff in my own thing. It's like, oh well, I don't want that to repeat itself, so I keep deleting it, and then other ones come in. And it's like, I know it's a challenge for you guys to do that.
Yeah, that was just kind of like a little experiment. We'll see how it goes. If it adds value to the group, we'll keep it. But if not, we might consider it. But I'm just glad that Donna's in there kind of keeping things from getting crazy. Anyway, well, hey, it was great to meet with you guys today. Thank you so much for sharing your work and trusting us to help you with that. And we know God is helping us in the process, of course, above everything. But thank you guys. Thank you for like Emily and Donna and Della and Aaliyah, from the All Access membership being here to encourage and give your expertise. And just want to say you guys are doing a great job. So keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day everyone else to help with the critiquing, because I know you didn't have a thing in, but it's very much appreciated.
Yeah, well, you're very welcome. So I got lesson 6 recording right now as we speak. I'm almost finished with that. So I plan on getting that out at the end of this week. So we'll keep you guys informed of any more lessons coming out. All right. So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week, and stay safe.
Thanks, Matt. And thanks for doing this,
Matt.
and happy painting, everyone.
Thank you. Go with God.
Amen to that. God bless you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.